KSHB 41 News starts now.
The first storm system of 2023 is rolling into the metro tonight. The KSHB 41 Storm Tracker is on the roads right now to bring you the very latest conditions.
Mike Nico keeping an eye on the storm tonight here in the studio. And Mike, should we expect severe weather?
No, I don't think so. Okay. You can expect some very heavy rain, though, and some potential minor flooding here and there because of how heavy it's coming down. Places like New American Century Airport, a half an inch in like 15 minutes. So that's a lot of rain, and that could cause some standing water on the roadways. Our first tornado watch of the year was for Arkansas, the Arklatex, and those areas. And then as we get a little bit closer, you can see, there we go. There's one just to our south. But this is for storms that are going to redevelop or develop later on during the evening hours and start to head northeast, not the ones we're dealing with right now. So the wind, it's been minimal so far. So is the hail and the flooding. They're all moderate to, if not, a little bit low. Here's what's been saving us. Look at this warm front. Because it is down to the south, that's where the greatest instability is. And because we've had this stable fog layer of cool, moist air, these storms are riding over top of it, these high base elevated thunderstorms, if you will. So here's a look at what's going on right now, as you can see right there. And what we're going to do is take a look and show you that the heaviest of the storms right now, Excelsior Springs, and moving away from us. So here you go. If you head down towards Harrisonville and up towards Marshall, south of the river, that's where some heavy rain is. And we'll keep an eye on these storms. Those are slated to slide more into Missouri as we head into the evening, latter parts of the evening hours. So we'll keep an eye on those too. We'll be back in a minute with an update.
That, Mike. Today, the precautionary boil water advisory for downtown Kansas City is over, but there's still some repair work that hasn't been done.
Remember, this all started on Friday when that 30-inch water main broke near West 17th Street. That line has been repaired, but the street still needs more work.
KSHB 41 reporter Abby Dodge looks into the state of the city's infrastructure after this disruption.
Water rushing through the streets of downtown.
It was just bananas, and I thought it was a smaller issue.
Turned into a big one. Cars swallowed by a sinkhole. Residents and businesses without water for hours. Others asked to boil water as a precaution.
It's a little frustrating living down here and having this happen day after day after day.
We're on the corner of 17th and Main Street in downtown. A pretty slow day out here for the observed New Year's Day holiday, but this corner of downtown was quite a mess on Friday. With the water main break, crews are going to be out here starting tomorrow to repave this section. The mayor says that they're working on more long-term fixes so breaks like this don't happen in the future.
We know that there are infrastructure challenges sometimes in a major city. We hate to see them, but we'll make sure not only that we address this concern, but make sure that we don't have other issues like this in the future.
Lucas says they plan to inspect lines like the one that broke on Friday.
I can't say a disaster or problem won't happen in the future. I can say we're going to try to make sure that we help prevent them.
KC Water lists at least 17 water main replacement projects throughout the city since 2020. One of those projects was on Main Street. Lucas did address the age of Kansas City's infrastructure.
Kansas City's been replacing a good amount of pipe, particularly along this Main Street corridor over the last decade. A lot of that has moved century-old pipes out of the system. We'll look to see what this was and to make sure that if there's that challenge on any other street here in downtown Kansas City, we make sure it's addressed.
In Kansas City, Abby Dodge, KSHB 41 News.
Just some breaking news now. 2 people are dead tonight after a car crash near 21st and Prospect. The Evergy outage map shows nearly 4,000 people without power in that area. We have a crew on the scene, and we'll bring you any updates as soon as we learn more.
On both sides of the state line, new laws are now in effect with the beginning of the new year. In Kansas, the food tax dropped to 2.5%. Kansas had the second highest sales tax on groceries in the country last year at 6.5%. This year, it's down to 4%. The current plan is to drop it again next year to 2% before dropping it entirely in 2025. Governor Laura Kelly says that's not soon enough.
No individual or family in Kansas should go hungry because food costs too much. No one should have to choose between buying groceries and paying their rent. With this bill, we will axe the food tax completely and quickly.
The governor's Xing Your Taxes plan would eliminate the state food tax immediately if the legislature passes it. Cities and counties in Kansas can continue taxing food sales.
Inflation is driving up costs for everyone, including churches. Some churches in our area have had to make changes just to keep the doors open. At St. Mark's United Methodist Church, Minister William Yeager is filling in wherever he can. The church is cutting back on janitorial staff to get by and stay on top of rising energy costs.
The reason I'm shoveling is we can't afford to have someone do that. Besides everything else, I'm also the janitor. We're like we're like a house or someone's household where we have the same issues about trying to go pay our utility bills.
Churches like St. Mark's rely on donations from their congregation to get by. With prices so high, those donations aren't what they used to be. Tonight at 6:30, Daniela Leone takes a closer look at the challenges St. Mark's and other churches are battling and what they're doing to lessen the blow.
Today marks the end of the holiday travel season as millions of people around the country head home after New Year's Day. The vast majority of those travelers hit the road today, but experts say this holiday season saw about 14% more air travel than the previous one. Today, those flights were mostly smooth after a week full of disruptions. Most of those disruptions, of course, came on Southwest Airlines. The carrier canceled more than 15,000 flights during the holiday week, leaving thousands of travelers stranded and separated from their luggage. Today, Southwest is largely back to normal, but still working to understand exactly how that happened. By the way, if you or a loved one was one of the thousands affected by those cancellations, you can request a refund or rebook your flight at southwest.com. You can also fill out a form if you've been separated from your luggage.
If you hit the road to travel today, you might have noticed a slight spike in prices at the pump. Today's national average for a gallon of gas is $3.22. That's up 12 cents from a week ago. Prices are still a bit lower in our area, though. Kansas drivers are paying an average of $2.80 at the pump. The Missouri average is at $2.87. If you're looking to save in our area, check out the gas prices map on our website provided by Gas Buddy. You'll find up-to-date prices around the metro. Go to KSHB.com and look for it in the traffic section.
Another new strain of the COVID-19 variant is quickly taking over in the United States. It's XBB.1.5 that now accounts for about 40% of confirmed cases. That's up from 20% 1 week ago. In the Northeast, the new variant is dominant, accounting for 75% of cases. It's a variant of the Omicron strain. No indication that it causes any more severe illness, but some studies have found it could evade even existing immunities.
It's easy to overlook something as simple as the air we breathe, but for communities struggling with poor air quality, it can have real effects on their health and their children's health.
Tonight's To America's report takes a look at one community breathing polluted air and how it's putting stress on the area's education system.
Augie, will you get out the jelly, please? We never have just a quick little 48-hour head cold. You want to do the knife or you want to do the jelly part?
Victoria Petro Eschler is the proud mom of 3 children. 3 children that are all too aware of how the air they breathe affects their daily lives.
You can't avoid it here. It is part of everything. It determines if my kids get to play inside or outside on certain days.
It also determines how often they're healthy enough for school.
My kids go from one highway that they're in the shadow of for school and then another highway that they're in the shadow of at home.
Home is the west side of Salt Lake City.
I choose to live here because I love the ethnic diversity.
A community with a median income of $49,000.
It's getting harder and harder to imagine the ability to buy anywhere outside of this community.
They call an airport, an interstate interchange, a quarry, and multiple refineries their neighbors.
So when you bring all those things together, it's a perfect storm.
Richard Holman was one of the founding members of the West Side Coalition, an organization that made enough noise about the problem they gained the attention of the EPA. While each individual company meets EPA standards, it's the combination that affects nearby residents.
It's not difficult to prove what's happening on the West Side. These people are compromised.
A University of Utah study of 174 Salt Lake City County public schools showed schools with predominantly minority students were exposed to worse air quality. A separate study showed the poorer the air quality, the more school absences.
This is why I think it's really the responsibility of the government to act fast and expeditiously and to protect the most vulnerable.
Harvard professor Francesca Dominici is part of a study that looked at air quality throughout the United States. A study that showed the problem isn't just a Salt Lake City problem.
The most polluted area are the one that there is a lower socioeconomic status where they have multiple environmental stressors.
Environmental stressors that forced Holman to eventually move from out of fear of his health.
No.
Stressors that ignited Petro Eschler to run for city council so her children would have a voice.
Who's there?
And environmental stressors that the EPA is now evaluating for the next 6 months, but is too much, too late.
This last time when I went to get the steroids, I looked at her and said, am I killing my kids by living where I live? And she looked at me and did one of these, you know, she doesn't want to tell me that.
In Salt Lake City, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
The balance of power in Washington will look very different starting tomorrow. A look at Congress in 2023 after this break.
You're watching KSHB 41 News, 2022 Emmy Award winner for overall excellence. Storm Tracker on KSHB 41 News is sponsored by Gladstone Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.